Welcome back. Well, today is probably one of the biggest breakthroughs in my mind that I've had so far. And it's not really a breakthrough. It's something I was looking at several months ago. I did some Run Like Hell videos, and I compared the governing body to an illusionist putting out an illusion. I wasn't sure the depth of it. But lately we've been working on the Elders book, and I've been looking through this secret Elders book. I've never seen one before. A couple of days ago I started looking through it. And I've been comparing older Elder books to see how they got themselves into trouble with the two-witness rule. And sure enough, they came up with like 30 points, like a whole section in a new one on CSA. So I'm going through the Elders book today, and I was planning on doing this one to see how the blood doctrine is enforced, and we'll go looking at it from that angle. Now, what I began to realize, thanks to my good wife, is that a lot of us, all of us that were in the Jehovah's Witness religion, we were put under a spell, if we can think about it like that. A spell. You call it indoctrination, but it's a spell, and it was cast out, and it became clear today as I was doing my research. Yeah, this is all a spell. And my wife introduced me to a book or a word, a new word, grimoire. Never heard of it before, looked it up today, and sure enough, it fits the bill for the Elders book. Now, we're going to go through a lot of sites. I had to make this a two-part video. It's going to get a little bit long, but I want to cover this part of it here. Let's look at this word. We'll pull it up here on the screen, just from Wikipedia here. I'll see if I can zoom in a little closer. Grimoire. This article is about books of magic for operating systems term. I guess there's games or something on it. Okay. It says a grimoire is also known as a book of spells, magic book, or a spell book. And that's really what the Elders book is. It's secret. It's a secret book of spells. It's how everything's run. Now, let's just look at this with an open mind. It says these spell books is a textbook of magic. And, we think of magic. Well, it's an ancient practice rooted in rituals, spiritual divinations, and or cultural lineages with an intention to invoke, manipulate, or otherwise manifest supernatural forces, beings, or entities in the natural world. And it is a categorically, yet often ambiguous term which has been used to describe religion. The Watchtower. That's my application. It's not in here. But magic, when you look at the Watchtower, you look at the this Elders book, and how it's the intention to invoke, to manipulate, or to manifest certain things within people. That's what this book's about. We're going to look at it. Typically including instructions on how to create magical objects. Well, it's not about magical objects, but it's about performing magical spells. Think about it in that term. An incarnation, a spell, a charm, an enchantment, or a bewitchery is a magical formula intended to trigger a magical effect on a person or objects. And the formula can be spoken, it can be sung or chanted. And the incantation can also be performed during ceremonial rituals and prayers. And the Watchtower is actually teaching incantations. I've seen it in some of the stuff I was reading. So they're putting these spells in their music, and they're going to outside contractors. One of the other creators put out a video, and they're using questionable outside contractors for their music, and they're putting this music off as their own, of course. Now, divination is an attempt to gain insight into a question or situation by way of occult ritual. Well, think of it this way. Divinate in an attempt to gain insight in a situation by way of an elders meeting. By way of an elders meeting by use of a secret elders book. That, when read, it sends out messages. It sends out spells, enchantments, instructions. Okay? So it's used in various forms throughout history. Diviners ascertain their interpretations of how they querent such and should proceed by reading signs, events, or omens, or through alleged contact. So the Watchtower, for decades, look at us, look at our growth. That means we have God's backing. And that's how they read their diviners. Their diviners are the governing body, the ones that are casting out, building these elders books. So let's carry on. Summons, evocation is an act of evoking or calling upon or summoning a spirit, a demon, or a deity. Now they summon a deity, Jehovah, or other supernatural agents in the Western tradition. And conjuration also refers to the summoning, often by the use of a magical spell. And they cast the name Jehovah out over and over and over again, like a spell. And it puts a spell upon people. It puts them in a hypnotic state that this Jehovah is divine, and this Jehovah is guiding them. And the conjuration of the ghosts or spirits or the dead or the purpose of divination, it goes on to talk about it. But they use this Jehovah in this very same sense. Now, they summon, let's just go back there. Invoke. Now, invocation may take the form of supplication, prayer, or a spell. So through their prayers, they're offering spells. When they say prayers, they don't emulate how Jesus said a prayer. None of these elders in judicial meetings do that. The poor Robbie, if you watch my last videos, we're talking about disfellowshipping poor Robbie. They made a video on it, how to disfellowship Robbie. And so they say this prayer, Robbie, they mention his name, and we hope Jehovah will get over Robbie and help Robbie to repent. And here, they want Robbie to leave his girlfriend. He knocked up this girl. He got her pregnant. He loves her. He just didn't tell these guys. And they want Robbie to leave the girl and abandon the child and the mother. That's what that training video is about. It's in one of my last videos. So supplication, prayer, and these prayers that they give are like spells. We got to be careful that we don't listen to them too closely. We have to listen to this stuff. And as we go through it, I'm realizing there's a lot of indoctrination I'm going to be showing you guys online. And we really got to look at this with a critical eye. Because this invocation is a form of possession. And it's where the governing body wants to possess you and own you. And you become theirs. And that's really what this is really critical stuff, folks. This is, to me, serious, very serious. If we believe in spirituality, we believe in good forces, God, Jesus, we believe in good things, well, then we believe in dark forces. And this is getting to be darker and darker and darker the more I look at this with an open mind. Now, it goes on to say, invocation may be a command or a conjuration. Now, these elder meetings are commands. They're commands for them to repent. And there's all these instructions on what repentance looks like. And we're going to examine this closely. Like, this is going to be many videos to really expose their spell book and how they're putting spells on people. This is so serious. And self-identification with certain spirits. Well, this is what this is about. Their certain spirit is Jehovah, Yahweh, but they use the name Jehovah. And many of us on this side are actually looking at this and wondering, is this Jehovah something else? Is this Jehovah an imposter to the real God? So there's so many things that I'm seeing, that my eyes are opening up here, that this religion is actually dark. You know, any master illusionist, when they cast out an illusion or a magician, well, when you go and pay for a show in Vegas, you know you're going to get tricked. You know it's a trick. But when you join the Watchtower, you don't know it's a trick. You believe their biggest illusion, the thing they throw out, is truth. We are the truth. You see, if there was a dark energy out there, and the dark energy was against the good energy, and the good energy said, no, I am the truth, the way, and the life, or however he put it, Jesus. I am the way, the life, and the truth. So Jesus is the truth. So here we have this dark energy saying, no, 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 no. We are the truth. You see, they've usurped the good energy's truth and made it their own. And we're going to see how they put all these twists on it, that they become magic spells. So let's carry on. Let's just read this a little bit. Divination, how to summon or invoke supernatural entities. It goes on to talk about such as angels or spirits or deities. Well, they're summoning Jehovah. And it talks about in demons. Now, in many cases, the books themselves are believed to be imbued with magical powers. And people believe these elder books, you know, you have to work all your life and you may never become an elder. You may never see an elder's book, the secret elder's book. So here we are. We're gonna expose it all. Now, in many cases, the books themselves are believed to be imbued with magical powers, although in many cultures, other sacred texts that are not grimoires, such as the Bible, have been believed to have supernatural properties intrinsically. So people believe that the Bible within itself has some kind of a manipulative supernatural power, and I believe that because the Bible has been responsible, people defending it, and it's been responsible for so many wars and deaths. So how do we reconcile all that as people coming out and saying, okay, I'm supposed to follow this book that teaches divisions, teaches things like that, and so a lot of us are questioning even the Bible, and we're looking at the Bible to see is perhaps the devil influenced the Bible. Could God influence the Bible? Well, sure. There could be good and bad in this book, and I think it depends on how we have to look at it. But Jesus chose not to write anything down. Nothing. He said, guys, this is easy. Follow the way. It's the truth and the life, and live your life with love. That's really what he taught. And love God. And when you do all of those things, all the other commands fall into place. And there's no more sacrifice. No more sacrifice. In fact, I wanted to show this little description. We're going to go back to my main screen here. And over here we can look at this. This is a little picture I like to show. In the Jehovah's Witness religion, it is like this. It's bowing down to an entity. It's an image. It's Warwick. It's the governing body. It's where they're located. We're bowing down to the Elder's Book. So the Elder's Book. So what the image does, how the image is influenced, and they call themselves an image. They call themselves collectively the governing body. It's an image. We paint an image in our mind that it's a collective unit that Jehovah's energy is coming through for the whole earth. And that's what all Jehovah's Witnesses are under that spell, under that belief. You see, a spell, when put upon us, when we believe it becomes an effective spell. And that's what we're under. So, like in the picture here, all the Jehovah's Witnesses are bowing down to the image. Babylon's these religions that become these images, and the Bible depicts this in the book of Revelation. We were taught that as Jehovah's Witnesses. So the Watchtower is no different. It's the same as every other organized structure on earth, claiming to be God's channel. But really, they practice divination. They cast spells. Some of them do. So what I do know is that the Jehovah's Witness religion through the Elders book is a way of casting, and I had to write this down. It's casting spells of, if you look at the picture here in Babylon, it's casting spells of fear, loyalty, and obedience. And obedience is through the blood sacrifice. And we're going to show that, and that'll be part 2 of this video. It's very complex on what they're doing with the blood sacrifice. And so loyalty to Jehovah. This image is Jehovah. They paint this image as Jehovah. It's the Watchtower. Watchtower equals Jehovah. You can't go outside of the Watchtower and worship Jehovah, according to this religion. It's only within the Watchtower. So it becomes an image. You see? Fear. Well, you see the guys behind me standing there with the swords? Those are the elders, and their swords is the Elders book. It's a spiritual warfare. And they're using their swords, this Elders book, that you can't have it. You can't hold it. You can't examine it. You can't poke it to feel how, but you will feel the effects of its sharp, pointy sword when you get disfellowshipped. I did. I was disfellowshipped. And I felt the pointiness of the sword as I was working my way back to get reinstated. It's terrible. It's a terrible torture. And then you get back in there, and then you have empathy for others. Because you realize that these guys, they're sorcerers. They all sit there and they wield this Bible. This isn't even a real Bible. Now, this Bible, it's interesting, with the Elders book, let me just finish this illustration. So my next illustration is here, and this is what happens to us when we speak out. We're thrown into the fiery furnace. It's torture for life. You get shunned for life. And that's the fear that this organization is wielding through the Elders book, through the elders. And then it trickles down and through their Bible, because you have no defense with their Bible. All the defense mechanisms that Jesus put in here to defend us with fornication, things like that, which on my last video I showed poor Robbie was dealing with, they pulled those defenses out. 1 John 8, 1 to 11. They pulled that out. So now with this Bible, they can disfellowship for fornication. They made it available, and that's what they're doing. So those are my 2 pictures here. We're going to go back to the display, and we're going to look back at this article we're reading. Now, in here, we're talking about a grimoire, which is the Elders book, and through it they cast these spells, or this fear, and it talks about the only contents found in a grimoire would be information on spells, rituals, and the preparation of magical tools, and lists of ingredients, and so on and so forth. Well, that's what they have in the Elders book. They have all the how to cast out fear. I plugged in love. It only came up 4 or 5 times, love, but disfellowshipping came up 130 times in the Elders book, because there's a search index there. And it's interesting how this book, but they cast out the fear, the loyalty, the obedience, and they call that love. That's what they call love. So fear, loyalty, and obedience that's cast out is love. So they want the recipient to feel that it's a loving provision from Jehovah, they call it. Well, from that image, that Watchtower image in Babylon. They all bow down to it, and they all agree with it. So in this sense, in this manner, while all the books on magic could be thought of as grimoires, not all magical books should be thought of that. So I think we kind of covered off on this. This term came up in Europe. Now, the inventor of this Bible, I'm going to show you the bigger screen here so you can see his face. This is the 3rd president, President Knorr, Nathan Homer Knorr, and he was the 3rd ruler of the Jehovah's Witnesses. He's the one that got involved with Greber. And Greber is a known spiritist, and some of the writings from the Greber's translation they used in here. And we have done videos on that. So Nathan Knorr is the one that's responsible for introducing the Elders books. Now let me see if I can just pull that in a little closer. Now, the Secret Elders Manual, Jehovah's Witness elders are provided with a manual which outlines their procedural responsibilities, including details on judicial committees and disfellowshipping. This is where they cast out that fear. And this book is highly confidential and do not be shared with other congregations' members. It is a red flag when a religion withholds such information from its followers. So now the first Elders book, it says, Pay Attention to Yourselves and to the Flock, was released as an Elder's Guide in 1977. It was kind of Knorr's closing out. That was the last year he was in power. And I think 1978 he was in power, maybe. What does it say here, Knorr? 1977. That was his last year of power. So this was a big thing. He brought this in along with his new Greber Bible. And 79 they introduced it. Then they had, or 77, and updated in 79, and 81, and 91, and now we have 2023. So now, I was kind of under this book, this old one, for a lot of the term I was in there, the 1991 edition. And then I guess I was judged by this one. I just didn't know it because I'd never seen it. Because I was judged in 2011. I was in elders meetings, and they would have been using this book. And then they went over to the 2020 edition covers, and that's what we have today. It's a different cover. So here's what it says here. This is a point of interest. An elder may request a brother to bind the manual, provided the elder watches that the brother does not read it. So not everyone's elders, right? So you could have a brother in a binding business, they want to put a cover on it. Like I bound this Bible. I had it done, this Bible here, and I had a New World, an 84 edition put in here, and they just put a leather cover on it, and they put a reasoning book in the back. So you hire people to bind books, that you're using a lot because the covers will wear out. Well, here it is. The elder may request a brother to bind it, provided the elder watches that the brother does not read it. Imagine that. That's how secret it is. And it says sisters and non-witnesses are not even allowed to bind it under supervision, as directed in the following quote from a letter to the elders, October 7, 2010. Pretty recent. And it says there's no objection if an elder personally spiral binds or laminates his own textbook, or does so for other elders. Now, if he has another baptized brother who is not an elder do the work for him, the elder must watch while the work is being done. So let's say a brother had a binding business or whatever, and an elder went over to his binding business. He'd have to stand there and watch him. Now, outside companies, if you went to an outside company, unbelievers or sisters are not permitted to do this work. So you cannot go to an outside contractor to get this book bound in case they look at it. That's what it says here. It says the material in this book is confidential, and confidentiality must be preserved. So here's the letter to all brothers, a spiral binding of the shepherding textbook. They did a letter on this. So not only is the contents of the manual, but its very existence is to be kept secret from female Jehovah's Witnesses. Why the secrecy? This reinforces Watchtower's unwholesome patriarchal boys' club power structure. And that's what it is. It's all men. For decades, Watchtower has regularly released a letter to elders or announcements and reminders with a section for elders only and a section to be read to the congregation. In announcements and reminders, January 2021, the elders section announced a revised edition. And we'll be, as long as we keep getting these every month, we'll be reading these online, elder stuff. And we're going to expose all the elders' books. We're going to expose it piece by piece. Now, the reason we want to expose this stuff is because now it will lose its power. It loses its power over its flock. It no longer becomes a book of sorcery where they can cast spells. Because once all the secrets are out, you could go into an elders meeting and you could do all the right things and get a second chance every time. And we have the secrets here. So we'll be doing more videos on this, so it's going to take a bit. Now, the last point I want to talk about, and this is a serious point here. When we think of a book of spells and a book that has power, sometimes we think, it's just kind of kid stuff. It's entertainment today. It's not real. Well, when these spells start to cost people's lives, like in blood transfusion, medical procedures, we start to wonder why. Why are we under these spells? Why are we listening to this stuff? Why are we sacrificing lives? And what about our children? What are we forcing our children to do? You see, the Watchtower is in the spotlight right now, and all the countries are looking at them regarding this blood issue. And from the research I just did in the 2023 Elders book, this blood doctrine is not going away. In fact, they are pulling more information in to support it and to push it worldwide. And people are losing their lives, and children are going to lose lives. Children are losing lives. They have to go get a court order now to give a child medical procedures, because Jehovah's Witnesses have these HLC members in there watching all of this stuff, and it's not biblical. If Jesus was on earth today, would he be doing any of this? No, it's not biblical. And on this particular video, I am going to show a little piece of a video that is done by another curator to show that the blood transfusions are not biblical. And then in the next video, we're going to get right into the Elders book and go through all of the videos that the Watchtower makes people go through. They call them little S forms. And we got most of them pulled up, and there is a pile of stuff with the indoctrination of blood. So it's crazy, but you want to talk about a book of spells. I didn't realize it was that deep. Now, we talk about blood. Let me just talk here a little bit about blood. Blood sacrifice. Remember, Jesus came and died for us all. He said, no more sacrifice. Enough with the sacrificing. I've died. My blood is spilt for all mankind. No more blood sacrifice. So now Jehovah's Witnesses are coming in and saying, no, we want blood sacrifice. You see, Yahweh, Jehovah, over the nation of Israel, wanted blood sacrifice. They had to sacrifice lambs and things like that. I don't know, birds and doves and all kinds of things. They were selling these animals in the temple. It was like a meat market. And they were selling animals left and right. And people would come in from long distances into the temple like assemblies, right? You'd be flocking into these assemblies, and you'd be buying parking passes and stuff, and you'd be going in there to sacrifice your family to the assembly. Well, you know what I'm saying. So that's what was happening back in Jesus' day. And Jesus said, enough of it. No more sacrifice. No more. So he died. His blood was spilled in behalf of all of us. It put an end to the sacrifice, blood sacrifice. It's not about blood sacrifice. On the Sabbath, when an animal fell in the well, he broke the rules to save the animal. Life before death. Remember that with Jesus. Life before death. We're going to play a small video on this, but I just want to show you a little bit that we should consider here. Let's just go to another screen here. We'll use this one. So I don't know if you can see this, but rituals offering blood sacrifice, rituals offering, basics to both animals and human sacrifice is a recognition of blood as sacred life force in man and beast. And that's what the Bible says. So it's a sacred life force. So what is the purpose of sacrifice? Well, sacrifice is a religious rite in which an object is offered to a divinity in order to establish, maintain, or restore a right relationship of a human being to a sacred order. Isn't that what the Jehovah's Witness religion's about? You will make a blood sacrifice so you can maintain or restore your relationship with Jehovah, a sacred divinity. This is the God of the Jehovah's Witnesses. It's their God, Jehovah. It's who they emulate. You see, he was a God that demanded sacrifice, wanted animal sacrifice, wanted all kinds of sacrifices. Jehovah. You see, Jesus is a different God. He didn't demand that. He says, enough of it. But with this religion, they maintain, or they feel they're restoring themselves in line with Jehovah, what Jehovah wants, if they sacrifice their blood, like they die. I call it a blood sacrifice. But if they don't take medical treatment because of blood, they'll die. It's a sacrifice to Jehovah. And we're going to show that in our next video, how they really beat that in with tons and tons of indoctrinational videos. Now, what is the ritual of child sacrifice? Well, child sacrifice is a ritualistic killing of children in order to please or appease a deity, a supernatural beings, or a sacred social order. So tribal groups or national loyalties in order to achieve a desired result. And that's what it is. This is a tribe, this Jehovah's Witness religion, and they're all together. They're all looking at each other. Do you have a blood card? Let's look at this blood card here. And that's the blood card we all have in our wallets. No blood, no blood. And they have a meeting, and it's a public meeting, and everyone's helping everyone fill out blood cards. And you're filling these blood cards out for your children. Well, that's what they were doing in my day. You'll be surprised on our next video to see the level of indoctrination that now goes into any medical treatment. If you go to a doctor, there's a form that is filled out. If you're checked into a hospital, there's forms that are filled out. And the level of control, the fear, and the loyalty and the obedience that they're demanding all equals love to the deity, to Jehovah. This is child sacrifice. You're sacrificing your child, you're forcing your child, you're coercing your child. The whole group is to give up their life, and they'll be a hero for Jehovah. So, folks, that's kind of where we're at. There's a lot of stuff. We're going to get into the Elder's book on the blood on our next video. But this spells part 1. It's a book of spells. It's a book to control. It really started to wake my eyes up when I started to research blood and the sacredness of blood. Blood is something, if someone donates their blood to save someone's life, that's a good thing. And the Jehovah's Witness, you see, the dark energy is flipping that into an evil thing. And they're casting this spell out there to all of its people and to anybody else that's going to listen in the world. And they make it look like they are medical experts. You see, Jesus didn't come to the earth to do that. That was not his command. His command was not sacrifice of our life, a child's life. It was not that. It was life over death. So anyways, folks, that brings an end to part 1. So stay tuned with me. On the next video, we'll get right into it.